Hello YouTube, I'm back again today, this time with the long version of my Zombie September 2012 deck profile. And what's different from the short version is that I'm actually going to go into some card explanations, and if you stick around long enough, I'm going to give explanations and show off my extra and side deck. And one of the reasons I'm doing this in the Dueling Network format rather than in front of my webcam is because it's just better quality in my opinion. Plus, it's easier for me to point to a card than it is to search through the pile of cards and give explanations that way. So let's get started. We still run the three zombie master. If you need explanations about this card, just click on any of my Zombie Chronicles parts. We still run the Plague Spreader and the Pain Painter. Both are really good tuners. Recycle them with Zombie Master and other cards. Pyramid Turtle searches out every card in the deck that's a zombie. Goblin Zombie searches out every card in the deck that's a zombie except for Rokoki and Pyramid Turtle. The two Reapers for stall power and get those little +1s in once in a while. Mizuki needs no explanation. It is just really good. I feel it should have gone back to 2 this format. Rokoki. It's a 24 beat stick that is easily summonable by Pyramid Turtle. Good for late game when Endless Decay is pretty low attack. We run Ill Blood. Lets me recycle some cards. It's a Gemini monster, so I have to resummon it, but I normally play around that. Endless Decay, very good early game. If I just summon Pyramid Turtle, attack into one of my opponent's monsters, second turn, special summon Endless Decay. He's normally at around 4,000. And then my opponent has to waste resources trying to get over that. Sangan searches out Pyramid Turtle, Goblin Zombie, maybe one of my tuners. It just is a searcher to get to my searchers. Gores is incredible, plus zombies need as much attack power as they can contain. Dark Arm Dragon. I have constant graveyard presence, so I can just modify the graveyard any way I want to special summon him and destroy all my opponent's cards before I set up for an OTK or something. The new addition is Dandelion. Lets me discard it with Zombie Master's effect, special summon Plague Spreader, get the 2 tokens, and that opens up plays for level 4, 6, 7, and 8 synchro summoning. I don't run Spore because I tested it out and I could never get Spore and Dandelion in the grave at the same time, and it just didn't work out for me. Next, we still run the 2 Book of Moons, still feel Therius Cloggy, lets me recycle my zombies, and being able to remove one monster from your opponent's grave is really good, especially against Junk Doppel dragons. Dragons are still a possible threat, and a bunch of other cards. Because if you remove their 1 red MD, they're in trouble. We still run the 3 creature swaps. It clogs at times, but being able to swap a searcher over to your opponent, such as Goblin Zombie or Pyramid Turtle, is very vital to let this deck function as well as it does. Foolish Burial, because it lets me load up my grave, because I feel I'm set up when I have a Mizuki in grave, plus at least one of my tuners, and a Zombie Master in hand, because I feel I can make plays for days with just that setup. Burial from a different dimension lets me recycle Mizuki and Plague Spreader along with other things that have possibly been removed, such as being removed from Allure Darkness. And Allure Darkness lets me draw the 2 cards, which lets me cycle through the deck. And banishing 1 dark monster isn't too bad because I can normally get it back with Burial, and I normally run a lot of multiples. We run the Pot of Avarice still, lets me put stuff back in my main and extra deck, and that +1 is really nice. The other new addition is Mind Control. It lets me go for Xyz and synchro plays using my opponent's monsters, and it lets me get things out of the way so I can creature swap the monster I want. Next, we run Soul Taker. It's kind of a new addition, although you've probably seen it if you watch Zombie Chronicles. It lets me destroy an opponent's monster, have them gain 1,000 life points, which is good for endless decay. Plus, it lets Pulsars and Shinings miss timing. Monster Born, Darkhold, Heavy Storm, don't need to explain. Still run the 2 MST because this deck loses out to back row pretty well, and I just side the third. Torrential is a pretty common trap staple. Compulse is a very versatile trap, letting me return Synchros and Xyz and not destroy them, so it gets around Zenmanes, and I can save one of my own monsters if I need to. Bottomless, I was going to run Summoner Monk in this card's place, but Summoner Monk is bad and I couldn't find it in time for the tournament I went to last. But this card was really good game 1, so I just decided to leave it in there because it put in a lot of work. And next, we have Call of the Haunted. Bait out my opponent's blind MSTs, chain it, special summon Goblin, Zombie, or Sandgan, get their effects. Really nice. And for the last card in the main, we still run the Deck Devastation Virus. Rabbit is still a thing, windups are still a thing, and this hits almost every hand trap out there. And for the side, we run 2 Despair from the Darks. Originally, I put these in here last format for the hand loops that were going around, and Dark Worlds, but most of the hand loops are gone now. But Dark Worlds will still be a thing. Special summon this card after your opponent's gone through all 3 Graphas. If your opponent plays something like Dark World Dealings after they've gone through all 3 Graphas, discard this card and special summons itself, and you put it in defense. Not even a Grapha with the field spell boost can get over it. I run a Penguin Soldier, just in case my opponent has a lot of field presence and I just need to get rid of some of it. This helps me with that. I haven't been able to test it too much though. We run the 3rd MST because, as I said, this deck falls to back row, and heroes like to run a lot of back row. We side the 2nd Torrential, the 2nd Bottomless. Eradicator Virus is for Dark Worlds and kind of troll decks such as Final Countdown and Exodia. We run a 2nd Deck Devastation Virus for things like Windups, Rabbits, and Exodia. Mind Crush are for things such as Heroes, Exodia, Final Countdown, things that do a lot of searching. And 2 Rivalry of Warlords. It's to stop Rabbits, Windups, that kind of thing. Maybe Junk Doppel. And Goes and Match does pretty much the same thing except with attributes, so it helps out against Sams and just a bunch of other things. And I run 1 Ceasefire because when I went to my locals last, I knew there was going to be a Final Countdown deck there, an Empty Jar deck there, and when I got there someone was also playing Appropriate Exodia, so I just wanted to be ready in case I was playing a deck that wouldn't let me get the last few thousand points of damage. And it's a pretty good card because it's 500 for every effect monster on the field, and normally you can fill up your entire field with effect monsters. That's 25 plus any effect monsters your opponent might control. And for the side, we run Armory Arm. We make it with Plague Spreader or Pain Painter and the 2 Dandelion tokens, or something I take from my opponent. Magical Android. I wish I had a TG Hyper Librarian, but I don't still. The 600 life gain you get from this card is pretty good late game. Revived King Hades. This card is just incredible, allowing you to negate the effects of effect monsters that zombie monsters destroy. So it stops Raikos, Sangans, all that nonsense. Iron Chain Dragon. He just has 25 attack and easy to make because this deck just pops out level 6s like nothing. And Gaia is just 26 pure beat stick. That is easily made in this deck. I run 1 Scrap Archfiend. It's just a 27 attack vanilla. So with this and Gaia, if my opponent has a Fiendish Chain as a last resort, it doesn't affect them. And the rest are level 8s, which I can make, and they're mostly there for pretty any situation. We have Stardust Dragon to stop all the hatred that's going around with all this destruction with 2 Mirror Force, 2 Torrential, that kind of things. We have Dark End Dragon, lets me destroy some of my opponent's monsters, and I can creature swap it to my opponent when it's pretty low. I run 1 Black Winged Dragon. This deck doesn't have any side for things like Chainburn and Stallburn, so I just run the 1 Black Winged Dragon and try to suck up as much damage from my opponent's cards as possible. Colossal Fighter is in there for the Hero and 6-Sam matchup, along with when it's destroyed by battle, it can just bring itself back, which is really nice. I run Scrap Dragon. It lets me pop one of my cards and pop one of my opponent's, so I can take care of my opponent's back row or problem cards such as Blackluster Soldier, pop something like Goblin Zombie, and get its effect off. And then I run Red Dragon Archfiend. It has 3,000 attack, and if I'm already in a winning position and my opponent's stalling out with defense monsters, I can wipe the board of their defense position monsters. And for the Xyz, I run Gotchi Gotchi, because sometimes I can make it with Pain Painter and its effect. Just an option, plus the 400 boost is nice. Utopia. It's a staple level 4. Really good, plus the 500 attack is nice. And Gymnite Pearl, because it has 26 attack. And still Fiendish Chain and Effect Failures are still a thing for this format, so that helps. And that's the deck profile. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.